Cool. All right. All right, everybody ready?
Yes.
Yes, let's do it. Okay. Oh, wait, how do I want to... Actually, let's start it this way, where we introduce ourselves and then say this is Black Girl Magic instead of introducing afterwards. So you can just be like, hi, this is CG. Hi, this is Danielle. It's Lauren. And this is Black Girl Magic.
Oh, that's cute.
Sounds good.
Cool. All right.
Who's first? What's our order?
Alphabetical.
I just had to think about that.
You're like, wait, who is? First? That means you.
I'm drunk off of cranberry juice. All right.
Get crunk.
Tell me when.
Anytime. Here we go.
Hi, this is CG.
And this is Danielle.
And it's Lauren, and welcome to Black Girl Magic, a podcast. Hi, ladies. Happy 2016. I haven't talked to y'all since last year, and I feel like so much has happened.
So much has happened.
Why did January already come for us? Larger than the Black female community. I mean, it came out swinging with taking, fuck cancer, man. Bowie and Rickman just gone, as well as Celine Dion's husband.
And brother.
Her brother.
Yeah. Just January was like, nope, I'm coming in. So hopefully that's that's it for now. Like, let's just take a pause. And January's supposed to be a happy month.
It is. It is the month of the most fantabulous holiday of the year, which is what? My birthday.
Your birthday!
I take gift cards.
What?
I said I take gift cards.
Yeah, you do. We'll have to do a special shout out on your birthday, your day of birth. But yeah, so January's just already off to like a roaring start. Speaking of birthdays, today, what is today? January 17th is the FLOTUS's birthday. And she turned 52. She looks amazing. I don't understand. I mean, being the FLOTUS has to be stressful, but she hasn't aged a bit in the 8 years that they've been in the White House. Barack, on the other hand, his hair is more gray than black. The hollows of his face have seen all of the various years of turmoil with Congress and fighting uphill battles, but FLOTUS looks flawless.
Because FLOTUS is what? Unbothered by any shenanigans.
Yes, and she was like, at the State of the Union this week, she was like, you know what? I don't even want to wear partisan colors. Like, if you look at it in the past, she's tried to be like purples, reds, blues, very like patriotic and bipartisan and have like a little something. She was like, nope, I'm coming in as your tangerine dream, arms blue, if it is cold outside, because I look good.
Yeah, she really was sitting there like, yes, I am the sun.
Yes.
Yeah, that was her moment of freedom.
Yes, she was like, I'm not here for y'all. I'm here for this dress. I'm here for this moment. I'm here to clap it up as my husband tells y'all what y'all won't do. And he went in, but I have pros and cons about his speech, but she was like, this is what I'm here for.
And I say, as someone, I wasn't in the audience, but in the television viewing audience, I was there for all of it. I was really blown away and she always looks fabulous, but it was just something about how she looked that night that really just sealed the deal. It was like, and it doesn't get any better than this.
I mean, she legitimately looks younger than she did when Barack entered the office, and I don't understand how that's possible or what her secret is. But she looks fantastic, and she's been raising two beautiful young women while being first lady, while handling all of her business. I mean, it is just that is black girl magic right there. I mean, that is the epitome of what we've been talking about, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. She is as one of my favorite videos right now talking about Black Girl Magic. She is standing in her dopeness, and I'm like, yep, yes, all the way. But she's been doing that like as she's become more of a style icon, and she is this generation's Jackie O. Like, you want to buy the clothes that she was wearing. Like, that dress sold out that night.
So I'm gonna go a little step further. I don't even feel like she's this generation's Jackie O. I feel like she has superseded Jackie O in so many ways. Jackie O was accomplished in her own right, of course, especially considering the time period. But Flotus is just on a whole nother level. And what she represents, particularly for black women, black accomplished women, actually placing us in the spotlight, does so much for so many little girls out there.
Because you have to think, there are 7- and 8-year-olds that don't know them not being in the White House.
Right.
And that's huge.
Right. Yeah, I mean, my daughter was born in the Obama administration, and that's all she knows is a black president and a black first lady. And to think about what that could potentially, even if we don't have another one for a while, it's never that she's never going to grow up with that feeling that it's just not possible, that many of us grew up with having never seen that before, having only seen sort of the same guy, different iterations of the same white guy being elected over and over and over again. She sees as her very first understanding of who the president is and who the first lady is and who what the first family looks like. It's Barack and his wife and his daughters and his wife's mama all living in the White House together. I mean, it's that opportunity matters so much too.
Absolutely. So happy birthday, Flotus. Stay fly like only you can.
We love you.
Oscar So White?
All right, you want me to just jump in?
Yeah, because I can edit pauses out.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So let's start by talking about one of the bigger pop culture issues that has already, I mean, 2016, we've hit the ground running. It's the same stuff, different year, pretty much. And so the Oscar So White hashtag has been revitalized yet again because basically everyone who was nominated for anything this year in the Oscars was white. And in a year when there were a number of really nuanced, really intriguing, really incredible opportunities for, or portrayals, I guess, by people of color and especially African Americans, this is really a troubling sort of situation. We're seeing the same people being nominated over and over again, and we're seeing the same sort of expectations that this is okay. I will say that I'm a little bit more interested in watching the Oscars this year, despite the Oscar So White hashtag, because Chris Rock is going to be hosting, and I think he's going to really have some interesting perspectives on this that he'll be willing to share with us. That's my hope, is that he's really going to take it to task.
He's already going in.
Yeah, I mean, and to see that happen live and to see the expressions on people's faces in the audience as they try to negotiate between, this is fine, it's okay to be made fun of, and feeling really uncomfortable about the conversations about race that he's going to have, that'll be worth watching in and of itself. But when we have all of these great performances by people of color, you've got Idris Elba, you've got the fantastic and grossly underrated Tessa Thompson, when you've got my personal favorite Michael B. Jordan, going nominated again. When you have Will Smith, you have all of these people who are playing, not only playing really interesting roles, but in some ways roles that don't necessarily conform to what our expectation of black actors and actresses is. That becomes the problem. And people have talked about this, you know, for years and years, the African Americans tend to be nominated for roles that sort of reify our understanding of what blackness is supposed to be. So it's, you know, Denzel does this incredible performance as Malcolm X, where he doesn't win, of course, but then when he plays this corrupt cop, he gets nominated and wins for that. Or when Halle Berry plays this sort of abject, despondent African-American woman in Monsters Ball, then she wins for that. Or when Whoopi Goldberg plays this very sassy and impoverished con artist psychic in Ghost, she wins an award for that. And so this year, when we're seeing a lot of nuanced portrayals, like something like Michael B. Jordan in Creed playing a character who is African American, but that his, you know, it's not defined by the struggle of blackness or the civil rights movement or something like that, that just gets sort of completely washed away, washed to the side. So yeah, I think we've got a lot to talk about with that. What are you all thinking with this? Are there any roles that you thought should be nominated that you're especially annoyed were not, or, you know, what should our response to this be exactly?
I feel like they went out of their way to highlight the whiteness of the industry. Like, how are you going to nominate Straight Outta Compton for the writers who are white? Like, this is Straight Outta Compton, about a gangster rap group at their formation through their high period. Like, you didn't think anybody in that cast was doing an excellent job. I feel like, you know, that was, they missed out on that. Creed, they managed to nominate the only white person in Creed. You have 2 black directors, and you got Michael B. Jordan, who is acting his ass off. If you look at his career from, you know, The Wire to Friday Night Lights, and don't sleep on Friday Night Lights because he is solid in his tenure there. Through Fruitvale Station, even like his rom-coms, like where he tried to like diversify his portfolio, all of them are really like solid portrayals. And they can't say that he's too young, because Jennifer Lawrence won when she was like a baby face. So, and she's nominated for what, her 4th time?
Right, and like let me even jump in right there. I like Jennifer Lawrence. She seems like a reasonably cool girl. I think that whatever persona she's got going for her, it seems to be working reasonably well. But yeah, she's not, I mean, she's going to be nominated for every single thing she puts out, apparently. And it's taking, and this latest movie, Joy, that she's been nominated for, while people seem to be really interested in it, it doesn't seem to have the kind of buzz that I'm hearing about, for example, Teyonah Parris's portrayal in the Spike Lee movie that just came out, and things like that, that are a little bit more, you know, it could be perhaps a riskier choice by the Oscar voters, but it would also potentially be something that was more rewarding, or at least show that they're keeping up with the times in some way. I mean, it's just, so yeah, the Jennifer Lawrence issue, when you talk about that in the context of like what happened to Michael B. Jordan, I think is really, really highlights the ridiculousness of these, the way that the voters are viewing these.
I also think that the Academy needs to start recognizing the originals that are coming out that might not come to movie theaters, but are coming to streaming channels. Like Idris Elba, like he should have. I don't understand why he was not nominated. Like that.
I really thought that he, along with, what was his co-star's name? Was it Abraham Attah, the little boy who played the child soldier? Like, his performance, I think, may have been one of the best theatrical performances I've ever seen.
Right.
Absolutely.
To see someone portray a child soldier who is engaged in such atrocious, horrific behavior, and to bring humanity to that. And so for them to ignore a movie such as this, I think it highlights a lot of things. I think part of the reason why they ignore movies that are released on Netflix is because they're snobs. They're snobs, and they don't want to take money out of their own pocket. They want to keep the money in the studio-produced movies, and they understand that if they start rewarding movies that are shot with an iPhone, movies that go straight to Netflix, then what is it to stop everyone else who has a dream from actually pursuing that dream and making an Oscar-worthy movie? So I think there's the race issue, and then there's also the economic issue. And I pray to the comedic gods that Richard Pryor comes from the dead, occupies Chris Rock's body, and he goes full nigga on the Academy Awards. That's what I want to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I would love for it to happen because I feel like it's overdue for a moment like that, and I'm tired of complaining about it and tweeting about it and hearing all these think pieces about it. I want some people to feel uncomfortable. I really do.
So there was this thing called the Black Oscars that was like a private ceremony held through basically the Black diversity chapter of SAG, and they
not the affinity group.
Yes, the affinity group for actors, and they would do their own awards like 2 days before as part of like the whole Oscar celebration, but they stopped doing that in like 2012, 2013, because they were like, oh, well, of course they're addressing the issue now because we're starting to see more, nominees and more solid content coming out, so maybe we don't need it. And Jada Pinkett Smith put on her, I guess on her Facebook page, I think she tweeted it too, but she was like, they ask us to perform and entertain and give out the awards, but they can't see us to actually nominate us for these accolades. Monique, though, I feel like she gave a really interesting perspective about Oscars versus like the NAACP Image Awards or the BET Awards, and how there are these celebrations in the community that why are we not holding them up to the same light as we do the Oscars? And she's like, I'm not here for the Oscars. The Oscars are great and everything, and she was like, it's wonderful to have that accolade of being an Academy Award winner, and she's like, but I'm also an NAACP Image Award winner, and I'm a BET Award winner, and like, how do we rally around those conversations to get it to the same place? Like, do we just stop going, or do we, like, what's the next step?
Well, and it becomes, I think that's a really useful perspective, and she's right. And I think that those award shows are in a lot of ways more fulfilling because there's nothing like being appreciated by your people, I think. But at the same time, there is real purchasing power when you are an Oscar award winner. People who have won Oscars have more control over their own image. They get paid more. They get more say in the kinds of roles. They get looked at first for roles. And I think that's also one of the reasons why the Oscars traditionally doesn't reward African Americans, because it keeps it the same sort of private club that it's always been, where African Americans are marginalized and aren't thought of for these roles at all, and they aren't getting this kind of acclaim. Will Smith is consistently one of the biggest box office draws, and he's never received in those kinds of ways. He's never acknowledged in those kind of ways, because I guess imagine what kind of power he would have if he were also this huge multi-award winning actor who also draws people to the box office in record numbers every single time he, coughs on a film. Everybody runs in. So yeah, Monique is absolutely right that you've got to think about these alternative positions and these alternative award shows and how meaningful those are. But it's still, incredibly messed up that the award show that seems to have the most pull and the most buying power in the end is the one where we are being completely X'd out and blocked out, and it seems very intentionally calculated that that's what's happening.
So to bring this back to Matt Damon, right?
Oh gosh.
So, yeah, I'm going there.
Do it.
I think this really touches on the greater question of who is in charge, which is related to who has the money, who's making these movies, who owns the studios, who's directing, who is in charge of it all. And that is why the Oscars have the buying power that they have. And I think that until we are in a position in which we're in control of not only the artistic expression that we are bringing to the screen, but the production of that artistic expression, we're going to keep encountering these same types of projects. I mean, same types of problems. Because that's why the Oscars have the pull. Because the studios say, oh, it's kind of like this endless cycle. The studios say, oh, you won an Oscar, we're going to hire you, but you don't win an Oscar unless you're black and you play this sort of role, or you work for this sort of studio and your movie was released in this capacity. So it just keeps perpetuating the same flow of money.
I call bull on some of that because at least in terms of the Academy, because they're talking about, oh well, we look for movies that had good box office pull, that had that have whatever their criteria are, but is frequently box office pull. One of the biggest movies of the year, Star Wars: The Force Awakens. You have people sitting outside days in advance to get a ticket. Tickets sold out, like it's an Adele show, and the lead actor, John Boyega, doesn't get a nomination.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Darth Vader doesn't get a nomination. Like, what is? Granted, I have not seen Star Wars: The Force Awakens, but I feel like even just in the small trailers that I saw and like the little snippets that I've heard about it, it was an excellent performance.
It was. I've seen it, and I don't go actually to the theater anymore for a number of reasons, but I took the time out of everything else to make sure I saw that, and it was. I mean, everybody in that was I thought did a really good job, and yeah, I thought he was excellent, and the fact that he's not even that he wasn't nominated or even being discussed in any real way as a possible contender. I mean, that's crazy to me. You're in the biggest film of the year, and people aren't even vaguely talking about you as possibly deserving of a nomination. I mean, that's ridiculous.
And it was an awesome movie. It really was.
So I feel like for black men to win, if we take the stereotypical piece out of it, so if we're not playing slaves or corrupt cops or butlers or anything, and we do what white actors do you think that they would get nominated if they make themselves uglier, gain weight, or lose weight, or play a trans person, that they'll then be nominated? Because they seem to like those things.
Yeah, that's such a good question because, I think so we have something like The Best Man Holiday, the sequel to The Best Man, which I thought was, I mean, certainly race was a facet of those characters, but that was really more of a film about grappling with your, mid to late 30s and figuring out your place in life and, coming back to terms with all of your friends from college that you maybe aren't as tight with as you used to be, et cetera, et cetera. But then that was being publicized as this race-themed film where, like, white people just couldn't understand, like it's so black-specific to have a crew from college that you want to see. Like there were all of these.
It was The Big Chill, but with black people.
It really was.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. But then it became then it was, oh, but this Negro film that's just for the colors that no one else can understand because there's too much that's like racially specific. And I'm watching this movie and thinking, like, how is this exactly racially specific except that I'm seeing a bunch of really, really attractive people of color on screen all at the same time?
I mean, we could go into a whole diatribe about when things are deemed for black people versus not when it comes to media. Like, if you look at Girlfriends, or even the portrayal the recent The Wiz Live on NBC,
Mhm.
how in uproar people have been about, well, why are these, what would happen if it was all white cast of The Wiz?
Not a damn thing would happen.
Because it's all the Wizard of Oz.
Right. Judy Garland has something to say about that, I think. So.
Like that already exists. Girlfriends, the quote unquote white version of that exists. It's called Sex in the City. You just
And
had
we can take it back to
it's
living
just a different city.
Before girlfriends.
Yes.
Right.
You can
Exactly.
be any girlfriend. Like that's just there's so much when it comes to the separation that they have in media, plus like how they go about awarding it. It's just I hope that I wish I had an answer to like figure out what the best way to address this, but I hope that another year of Oscars So White makes the Academy take note, or that the 97% of people that belong to the Academy that are white and the 77% that are male, that they eventually die off, and so that they can get some diversity in there, get some women in there, get some people of color, some Latinos, some Philippines, some Asians, some black folk. Like we're in the system and we're in the culture and the industry. You just have to recognize them. And it's like TV is starting on that wave, or coming back to that wave, because I would say like the mid 90s there was a ton of excellent black shows that were popular. And then so we're moving back towards that now. I just hope that it continues and that the Academy actually takes notice instead of it just being the Golden Globes or the Emmys. Like, it needs to move up the ranks.
Right.
Oh, are we done?
I think so.
I put my request out to the universe for Richard Pryor, so I'm hoping that sticks.
Yes, I like that request. I think that would actually be... Hell, I'm going to watch it either way, but I think that would be an amazing, like, moment if you actually, like, saw him take over his body and you're like, oh, this is happening.
Here it comes.
Yeah.
I want to be like...
I'll tell you what, the older Chris Rock gets, the fewer dams he has for anything and anybody. He's going through his own personal stuff with his divorce and everything, so his fuse may be real short too, which hopefully means he's going to say some things that put people in their place.
I hope so.
I want him to do like a ghost skit, except he pretends it's Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
Feel free to use that, Chris. Feel free to use that.
All right, I need to figure out how to transition. Okay. I don't know if y'all have read this, but hold on, I'm having some feedback. Hold on. Is that better?
You sound good.
I sound okay?
Yeah.
I'm hearing some feedback on my end, but that might just be me. I've been having some weird stuff with my microphone today anyway.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not hearing it at all now.
Cool. So, I would like to start out by saying Elle magazine has a history of just getting it wrong. So we're just gonna put that out there to begin with. So I'm not sure why I'm particularly surprised, but this week they decided to publish online an article about and it's in response to Essence releasing their February issue celebrating Black Girl Magic as in the class of 2016, where they have like 3 different covers celebrating 3 different types of women that are doing just really fantastic stuff, like from artists and actresses to activists and people that deserve to be applauded, right? So I come to this knowing that Elle just ain't no good to begin with. But we're going to start with Linda Chavers, who decided a couple of days ago to post this article that she has a problem with the hashtag and the movement of Black Girl Magic because Black women aren't magical. Okay. In theory, yes. I am not in my kitchen over a cauldron making spells and like actually like riding unicorns over rainbows. I know I'm not in the essence, in the definition of what magic means. I know that I am not that. I'm not casting spells on anyone. But what she fails to miss is what Black Girl Magic is a space of celebration. It's not saying that we're magical or superhuman or more than we are as humans. It is celebrating what we are as humans. It is celebrating our style. It is celebrating the positive things that we do in the community, both for our community and for the world at large. It celebrates our beauty, all facets of our beauty, from natural hair care to relaxed hair care to preventative styles to flexing on my melanin of all shades. Like, it is a place that allows us to do praise hands emojis for all of us. And that's what, like, the fact that she had the nerve to curl her hands and type this out and put her fingers on them home row keys and say, okay, this is what I have an issue with. And it comes from, she just came at it from the wrong angle. Like, she has some personal issues with, you know, being considered superhuman and trying to do, you know, too much, which there is that stereotype of women being, you know, Black women being strong and independent in a way that other women don't have to be. I just feel like those archetypes aren't necessarily what Black Girl Magic is promoting.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit on it right there when you said that's not what Black Girl Magic is promoting. She said that it was something about being that it smacked too much of the strong Black woman archetype, and I don't see that as being a 1-for-1 ratio. I think the strong Black woman archetype is specifically talking about what you can do for everybody else, the support that you provide for everybody else, the nurturing that you provide for everyone else, the care that you take of everybody else, where Black Girl Magic is about your feelings of self-actualization and your feelings of self, that it's the beauty and the wonder that you are able to find in your own life that makes you feel good about yourself as a human being, rather than just as this sort of vessel for everybody else's frustrations or needs and wants and desires. That there's something about Black Girl Magic that talks about an African American woman finally having that space to be herself and to realize herself and to see the beauty of her own existence that we are so frequently denied in all other aspects of our life. That Black Girl Magic allowed us to take some time and say, you know what, I'm badass for me. Like, I can support myself, I can love myself, I can find myself to be beautiful inside and or out, and all of those feelings are worthwhile. It's not just about how I am going to treat the rest of the world. That there's something about forming this Black Girl Magic community where everyone believes in themselves and everybody believes in each other.
I think it's a public reaffirmation of what we've always culturally known to be true, which is that we are beautiful in our own right. And I think she sort of misses that point in just such an epic way. I mean, it was just such an epic fail that it led me to wonder, what the hell? Had she even heard of Black Girl Magic before she got this assignment? I don't quite know what happened, and I think, like Lauren said, I think she had her own personal issues because she talked about dealing with MS and having expectations placed on her. But I just don't understand how you miss the point that much. I don't get it at all.
And I want her to realize, dear Dr. Linda, that, you know, because people are using and rallying around this hashtag and this online movement of Black Girl Magic, that does not make us, we are not saying that we're invincible to the ills of the world. No, and it doesn't negate the women that have been and probably will be and continue to be, you know, victimized by the system. It doesn't negate the women that were, you know, terrorized by Holtzclaw. It doesn't, you know, make Sandra Bland's now legacy as say her name, as a moment, a turning point for the Black Lives Matter movement. Like, it doesn't make any of that less. Like, those women were not magical. They were, like, if you look at the photos, the actual photos of Sandra Bland, not the ones of her, not her mugshot, but the ones that her family put up, she is magic because she has a glow and she's smiling and she's beautiful, and the work that she was doing was meaningful in her community and the school that she was working for. It's like that's the magic. It wasn't and that's what makes it even worse that she was victimized in this way and lost her life, because her light was diminished and taken away, and we will never know what she was capable of doing and what her life would have been. And that's why we need these spaces of Black Girl Magic, or, you know, just Black women coming together and celebrating ourselves and having a safe space to be like, yes, you are doing great stuff, and yes, you look fly, and yes, your twist out is cute, and like we need that space so that when you are going out into the world, and in her case fighting MS and maybe doing fundraising, when you're facing those things, you've got that support system that is there to lift you up to the light.
Exactly. Everyone needs a cheering station. And I think that the fact that all these things are going on in the world doesn't mean that we're not allowed to have moments of just pure positivity and radiance and I see you, girl, do you. We're allowed to have those moments. And I think to think that it's mutually exclusive in some way, and that you cannot be in this happy space and you cannot celebrate the beauty of Black women, it's very misguided. It's very misguided. And I think her literal interpretation of magic, and I'm going to take it there, I think it's just a little intellectually dishonest. I think she knows better, and I'm very disappointed.
I fully, wholeheartedly agree. Yeah, it seemed like she wrote it so it would be published. That she, yeah. I can't believe somebody would buy into that, because she even wrote, you know, and you brought up, Lauren, the Holtzclaw situation. She said, you know, were we magical when Daniel Holtzclaw was raping us? And that felt like such a gut punch to me. This idea that she felt that because this had happened, that should negate Black girl magic, because somebody else doesn't see your magic, or because somebody sees your magic and tries to destroy it in that way, like Holtzclaw did. That doesn't make you not magical. That doesn't make you not a person who is worthy of respect or love or feeling in some way uplifted. So her idea of equating what happened, I mean, that it seemed so, it took that idea to such a crazy extent that I was really left speechless, that she really felt not only that she would write that, but that it was something that needed to be disseminated widely, that we even have to have this kind of conversation to explain why Black girl magic matters and is a useful frame for thinking about ourselves, is crazy to me. because it was just so far afield, I think, from what she knows that movement is meant to represent.
I felt like she was pandering, quite honestly. I
Absolutely.
felt like she was pandering and she wanted, and I'm going to say it again because just so y'all know, 2016 is the year I go vintage CG because I'm reclaiming my gangster because somewhere along the way I've lost it. So we're going to go vintage CG 2005. That's where we're going to take it to. Because I was a little.
Yeah, 2005, that was a good year.
That was a great year for vintage CG.
Yes,
So
I like 2005.
She was pandering, and I felt like she was, what's the best way of put this? Campaigning to maintain her role as the token. There we go.
She was, this is a clickbait article. Instead
because
of a listicle,
for a black woman to write an article like that, that is that intellectually dishonest, means you got something up your sleeve.
And if you look at her bio, it's like, girl, you're smarter than this.
Exactly.
You are smarter than this. And you know it. Like, you don't get a PhD by being dumb. And so it's like you know what's happening here, and you do research. Like, that's the thing as well. It's like, you know how to write a well-founded article. That's been your life. So being this version of yourself on L to get, hey, I understand, as a PhD, to get tenure, to get, into different tracks of academia, if that's so your choice, you gotta get published, you gotta get your name out there, you have to have a certain campaign around yourself to get people to notice you, because it's a limited field, but it's like this.
But what I would hope she would remember in that same vein, that publication is very precious, because once it's out there, it is out of your control. You cannot control who reads it. You cannot control how far it goes. You can even print a retraction, and it is still, that original piece is still out there. And why would you want your name attached? Because she didn't even offer a new way to think about it. She wasn't saying, let's not think of us as magical. Let's think of us as something else that matters. It was just, well, we're human. And it's like, yes, of course. I mean, that's part and parcel to the magic. It's not the idea that it makes us superhuman. It's that it makes us magical within our own humanity. So this idea that you would attach your name to something that is ultimately so damaging, I would love to talk to her and figure out why. What would compel you to attach your name to something like that in that realm of publishing, in that realm of getting your theoretical frameworks out there, because it just seemed like such a damaging and, quite frankly, a damning perspective to have broadcast. And it gives people who felt intimidated by or resentful of the black girl magic mode of thinking, it gives them something specific that they can point to and say, well, boom, this isn't really all it's cracked up to be. I knew that I was right for not liking this. I knew that there was a problem with it. And now they've got somebody who's saying, oh, yeah, there is a problem with it.
And it was really insulting. Just for me as a black feminist to read something like that, it was insulting because, yes, she used her theoretical framework, but as the myth of the black superwoman, but she really, in her own way, resuscitated it and then tried to say that black girl magic was reaffirming that. We've already killed that. It's already been dead. So to state or to imply that black feminists would embrace a movement of black girl magic, which is nothing in her mind, which is nothing more than a reaffirmation of the myth of the black superwoman, it was very insulting, because why would we do that? We've already talked about the perils of that archetype, about how it has served to further stigmatize mental illness in our community and self-care, and how it hurts us as women. So it doesn't make any sense for her to believe that black women or black feminists, for that matter, would embrace something like that.
So to close, Linda, the next time you decide to write something that, belittles a community trying to uplift themselves in out of the harshness that is Sandra Bland and girls being thrown across the room by security guards at school, think again. Just think one more time. Do some research, if that so behooves you, and just don't. Just don't. Because there's nothing to be gained from this idea of tearing something down without trying to rebuild it or find a way that feels good to your soul. Like, take a moment to look in and be like, you know what, this isn't, my problem with this isn't because it is uplifting our community or setting, standards that might be unreachable. It's because I don't know how to participate in it. Like, look at what your motivations are before you start trying to dismantle a community that is trying to celebrate what we are doing. Before I close out, I want to give a shout out to Auntie Pebs, the creator of Black Girl Magic hashtag and the online movement. You can follow her on Twitter at the PB as in boy G. So yeah, follow along. She also has shirts that says Black Girls Are Magic. So if you would like to get one of those. But she has cool content as well and had her own thoughts about this article. And grab Essence so that you see the 2016 class of Black Girl Magic. And I can't wait to see what they do for 2017. I hope that Amandla gets one for next year. Okay. Monique Presley?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Okay, so one topic that I wanted to bring to the table was that of attorney Monique Presley. And I think she's all types of Black Girl Magic. She's a very accomplished attorney in her own right. She is a Howard University School of Law alum, so of course I think she's fabulous for all of those reasons. And currently she is representing Mr. Bill Cosby in his cases in which he's been accused of sexual assault by more than 40 plus women. And it's an interesting topic because it brings to the forefront this question of how do we support women who are just doing the damn thing and owning their profession, irrespective of the fact that we may not agree with the positions of their clients. And particularly as an attorney, and this is an issue that I've encountered a lot as a corporate attorney, a whole lot, because people will say, well, how can you represent an individual, or how can you represent a corporation and they don't have the interests of the community at heart, or they're not doing this or they're not doing that. And the one thing that I always challenge people with is that as attorneys, we have an obligation to represent everyone, and our legal system is based on the idea that everyone is innocent until proven guilty and is entitled to competent legal representation. So I bring this to the table because I want to know, what are your thoughts about how, well, number one, about Miss Monique Presley, and do you guys find any conflict in supporting her, notwithstanding your feelings about her client?
You know, I'm glad that you brought that up, CJ, and you provided me personally with a lot of insight about thinking about this from that legal perspective, and the fact that you do have a legal obligation to represent your client to the best of your ability, because that's one of the tensions that I've been feeling between, like, really being able to cheer this woman like I want to, is the fact that she is doing such a damn good job of defending and supporting her client in some, and this is a hard conversation to have, I think we all know, but in the things that he has been accused of doing by, at this point in time, 50 plus women. And so I think my tension has been the grotesque nature of the crimes and incidents that have been waged against Bill Cosby, and my own personal feelings as a feminist and as a black feminist, in how reprehensible and repulsive and repugnant everything is, and at the same time, as a black feminist, wanting to really support this real-life Olivia Pope, who is winning and who is eloquent and who is clearly brilliant, and who is doing a great job of supporting her client. So I guess my thinking is that yes, she is fantastic. She's really interesting, but it hurts my heart in a lot of ways to see her talents, I guess, by necessity being used in this particular case, because some of the things that I've heard her say by way of defense it edges very dangerously close to the line, if not crosses it, of victim blaming and of blaming women, both real and sort of the abstract idea of women, for their own rapes and victimization, that the impetus is consistently on women to prevent themselves from being raped, as though rape is a natural state, and that men are such animals, they just simply cannot control themselves when they, see a woman, that you have to take those kinds of precautions, and whether you do or do not have to take those kinds of precautions, the implication always seems to be that it's women's responsibility to prevent these misguided men from taking advantage of them and to not put themselves in these kinds of positions. So I don't like that rhetoric that I'm hearing from her, but I am really impressed by her as a woman and as a woman of color, and by her confidence in the public, and by her eloquence and her I guess even thoughtfulness, the way she's framing things. But it is a situation for me personally where I'm having a difficult time resolving my opposing feelings about Attorney Presley.
Yeah, I have some similar feelings in terms of, like, why did this have to be your client? On another hand, I'm like, okay, so from a financial standpoint, I don't know where she is in terms of being the real life Olivia Pope financially. If this was the thing that would make your status move, then I can't be mad at your game. But the rhetoric that she uses is flawed. But from the legal standpoint, like, she's doing what she has to do to protect and defend her client. I just wish this wasn't her client. I also wish that this wasn't the way that she was coming to becoming a household name. Like, I feel like there are so many other cases that she could have taken, especially being in the DC area. Like, I just feel like there could have been a different case to put her on the national stage. On the other hand, I have to say, way to be a solid image of, educated black woman making moves, doing, not working your way up the ladder, making yourself known. But I don't know, I'm so conflicted, because I want to support her, and it's like looking at the conversations online about people saying, she just showed, like, she has this brilliant legal mind, and she showed Roland what was what, and she like has taken everybody to task. I just wish it wasn't around this case.
I agree. I agree. I think that as an attorney, we all have a sort of, there's a line that we all say we won't cross as far as who we will or who we won't represent. And I think that's a line that individually we all have to draw. And I can't sit here and say that if I was asked to defend someone who was accused of a heinous crime, who was well known, I can't say whether or not I would or wouldn't defend them, because I don't know. I don't think you've ever really, I don't deal in hypotheticals like that. I don't think you know until you're actually placed in that position. And it does create a conflict for me, because at the same time that I want to celebrate her, I know that, you know, those attorneys in the R. Kelly trial who were talking about the little girl as being fast and as having the body of a woman and sort of implying, not even implying, stating that it was her fault, I had a big problem with them. And so it makes me confront myself to think, well, am I a hypocrite for feeling this way? Because if she didn't look the way that she looked, would I still think, oh, she's a brilliant legal mind? Yeah, I think I would, because the arguments that she's brought to the forefront are pretty awesome from a legal standpoint. To construct those arguments and to articulate them in a way that makes other people actually stop and think in their tracks, and to present your client's case in that matter, that's not just a skill, that is a talent. You are just born with something like that. But at the same time that I do want to celebrate her, I'm still looking at whether or not I can support her client. And the jury is still out on all of it, of course. Well, not on all of it because, you know, statute of limitations. But I just thought it was an interesting topic, just the idea of how or can we support a black woman who's doing her thing when we may have completely different feelings about what that thing entails.
I think it also, like, not to take away from Attorney Presley, but I think we're having the same kind of tension around celebrating things like The Cosby Show and A Different World and separating them out from Bill Cosby himself. Like, if you look at what A Different World portrayed and shared and the topics that they covered, it's still super topical now. And like I watched it I guess maybe a year ago, and rewatched it before I realized that, like, and I had to take pause and be like, all right, you're not celebrating this man and everything that he's done. You're celebrating this show that put actors together and was a moment in time. And so, like, I think this whole case kind of makes all of us take this pause and deal with this internal struggle of celebrating art and Attorney Presley's case, art and law and brilliance versus the people themselves. And that's tough. That's tough. I mean, we do the same thing with R. Kelly. Like, do you still celebrate his music while knowing that he is a well-documented pedophile? Like, do you still do your two-step when Step in the Name of Love comes on, or do you just throw it all out the window? I mean, this comes with a lot of things in terms, like, look at Chris Brown. Do you celebrate the music, or do you, while condemning the person, or do you just throw all of it out? I don't know. It's tough.
And that is the question of the year. I don't have the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, me either. I mean, it's hard because you want to say, you know, I mean, and I think CG, you said something about like our own hypocrisy, and that's what it feels like, because like it's been easier for me to sort of disavow Chris Brown in a lot of ways, because I was never a huge Chris Brown fan in the first place, and then we saw pictures of Rihanna's face, and so that made it really tangible for me, where I was like, damn, that is crazy. Like, that is absolute undeniable abuse. But for so much of the other situations, it's easy to sort of forget because it's not things that we're actually seeing, you know, that it's not readily available in that same kind of way. So, you know, I talk a good game about, you know, being done with R. Kelly, et cetera, et cetera. But if I'm in the car and Remix Ignition comes out, I'm going to sing every single line from that song and dance, you know, because it's just something that's sort of connected to my own personal experiences and things like that, and it's easier for me to be like, okay, well, let's, you know, in this particular way, we're going to separate, you know, the man from the music, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, does that make me a hypocrite? And where is the line drawn? You know, I'd like to be better than that. I don't really, you know, I try as much as possible, you know, to draw those kinds of lines, but at the same time, like, I think in some ways for like, I don't even know what it is, for to sustain myself, I've had to sort of draw the line between Bill Cosby and Heathcliff Huxtable, that those two men can't be the same person, otherwise my entire social schema falls apart. You know, if Heathcliff Huxtable is cheating on Claire and raping women, then the rest of the world doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
And so I've had to say that those two things aren't the same, and they're not the same. But you know, and at least with the Cosby Show, I feel like there are other people who are being impacted. You know, Felicia Rashad didn't do anything. It's not, you know, she should still get that, you know, those coins from the, you know, playing in syndication and things like that, where her livelihood has been compromised to a certain degree as well. But yeah, I mean, it's a hard question. At what point, you know, do you throw your hands up in the air and say, I'm not going to support these individuals anymore, and at what point do you say I can appreciate the art and still condemn the person?
So I guess, Monique, we're excited that you're wonderful and brilliant and all those wonderful things, but we still feel some type of way, and we don't know what to do with that.
All right. What's next? Shout outs? Do we have any shout outs?
I guess I should get on that. We should help you with the shout outs, because normally you do the shout outs.
No shout outs this time. That's fine. Oh, nothing went away. I guess we can go into magical moments.
Okay.
Do we have any magical moments this week?
I do.
Go for it.
Okay, so my magical moment occurred yesterday. I am a member of the board of directors of this awesome, amazing nonprofit called Aya Incorporated, which is focused on mentoring young women of color to become the next generation of leaders, high school, college, and young professional women. We're all involved. And yesterday, I was involved in a panel discussion in which we were talking about charting your career path and how to write a resume and how to do interviews, just basic skills that you need to know in order to succeed in this world. And my magic moment occurred when, at the close of everything, we were eating. Olive Garden donated food. Shout out to Olive Garden. And we were all sitting around eating, and we were helping girls go through their cover letters and their resumes. And one girl in particular said to me, I really appreciate you guys doing this for us, because everyone makes it seem like success just happens, and that either you know how to do it or you don't know how to do it, and that's just the end of it. No one actually tells you step by step or actually admits that it's a process, and no one extends themselves to say, hey, I can help, and is actually genuine about it. So it meant a lot for me to have someone college age, when I feel like I just left college myself, confided in me that she felt like all along that in some sort of way she was deficient because she just didn't get it, because that wasn't the type of family that she came from. And so for her to understand that we're there for her and we're supportive of her and that we'll do anything to help her, that really meant a lot to me. And that was my Black Girl Magic moment of the week. It was fantastic.
Being recognized like that is such a joy when you have those touch points in life and you're like, oh, I am doing the right thing. Yes, I am in the right place. So I'm so glad that happened to you.
Yeah, and you deserve it so much too. So I'm glad to hear that you're actually getting the recognition that you really do deserve.
Thanks, guys. That was so sweet.
Danielle, anything for you?
My Black Girl Magic moment this week is that I gave a presentation recently, sort of a personal narrative where I talked about my area of study and some of my scholarly and teacherly interests. So basically, I study African American satire in the 20th and 21st century, which is one of those areas where when people hear about it, they get excited because they're like, oh, word, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock. And yeah, I do that for sure, but I also really try to consider the ways that satire works to frame our understanding of ourselves and identity formation in the 21st century. And so it's much more, it's not just kind of sitting around listening to jokes and laughing, but it's thinking about why the laughter matters and what it means about blackness and our understanding of ourselves as black people and other people's understanding of blackness, et cetera, et cetera. And so when I talk about this area of study, sometimes people have a difficult or I think it's easy for people to sort of think of it as really frivolous or not especially significant. So I've been working to try to make sure that the meaning and the necessity of those kinds of conversations is getting to the forefront when I talk. And so I gave this presentation, and I was so overwhelmed and blown away by the response I got, where people really seemed to get why thinking about satire matters and why thinking about it in the realm of African American literature and culture is important, especially in the 21st century. And sort of similar to what CG was talking about, it was that moment where I felt really validated and recognized, and it just sort of revitalized me and gave me new directions to think about with my own work and with new possible projects and things of that nature. So it really became this cool opportunity for me to continue thinking about my own work and see the way it's being received in a broader realm. So I left that conversation like with a little bit of a pep in my step, feeling like, yeah, I can keep doing this. This is great. People are seeing it as maybe having some sort of a impact. So yeah, I felt especially magical because people sort of got what I was talking about and were excited. They shared my excitement about it, which is always fantastic in academia if people seem excited about something that you're talking about.
That's so cool. Oh my goodness. That's, you know, like you said, that's like that's the epitome of like Black Girl Magic when you're in academia, is getting the kudos from fellow peers and people understanding what you're trying to do. So, yay.
It does, especially because I know how hard you work.
Yes.
Seriously. You work so hard. So
Thank you guys.
I'm happy you had that moment where you're like, yeah, I'm doing it.
So that you can keep doing it, because we need people like you.
Oh, thank you guys. It's nice to feel like, I don't know, that sense of like it. I mean, it was like drinking a cool glass of water and being like, yeah, I'm gonna keep on.
Lauren?
I don't think I have one this week. It's been a weird week, so I think my magical moment is just making sure that, self-care is like top of my list. making sure that I take time for myself. I'm starting to write more, and that is a intention for the year. And just, yeah, making sure that I take care of myself. Which should be everybody's like goal in a magic moment for you, is to take care of yourself.
Yeah, I realized I was slipping on my self-care game when I looked down and my ankles were ashy. I was like, get your life, girl. You are not that damn busy. You are not too
I
busy
do have a magic moment.
on your ankles.
It is going to be the most ridiculous magic moment. But I've found I am recently a part of the bandwagon of users of coconut oil. It is
Oh,
the
don't even start. Yes, it changes everything. Oh my God.
It does. Not only does my skin feel better, I walk around smelling like cookies. And
Right?
you just can't have a better day than that. So
It's
shout
so
out to
great. Like, and it fixes everything. It fixes everything. It does everything. You can use it in cooking. You can use it on yourself. You can just use it. You can just carry it around with you. I had a pair of boots that stopped working. Like, I couldn't get the zipper on, and I just smeared some coconut oil, and they are fixed. I mean,
coconut oil is from the gods. It is magic. It is the epitome of Black Girl Magic because it is actual magic.
It
So,
is, absolutely.
There you go, Linda. Like, if you're looking for some Black Girl Magic, pretty much every Black girl has coconut oil stashed in her house, and that's why we're magical.
Yes. If you want to answer to that question from Elle, yeah, that's why we're magical, because we discovered something here.
Coconut oil. It is. So Portland is dry and it's cold and it's rainy and I walk a lot, and it is like no amount of shea butter or anything was just like helping me feel better in my skin. And I was like, well, everybody rants and raves about coconut oil, and so I was like, you know what, let me just go ahead and bite the bullet. I was in Trader Joe's anyway. I grabbed a bottle and I have not been the same person since.
Shout out to coconut oil.
Boom, there's my magical moment. All right, where can we find everybody on social media?
I can be found on Twitter at CSYD_237 or tumbling on Tumblr _Brita, BRITA, like the filter.
Love it. Danielle?
Well, I can be found on Twitter at no, that's wrong, sorry, MOS_DAF. That's my Twitter handle. I'm starting to tweet back a little bit more frequently in the new year. And then on Facebook at Danielle Fuentes Morgan, you can find me there and click follow. Now that it is award season is starting to gear up, I will be tweeting and Facebooking much more frequently and trying to live tweet and live Facebook posts as well.
Sweet. And you can find me on Twitter at lpark1984 and on Tumblr at pdxobserves. Also, you can find all of us tweeting at some point under Black Girl Magic at BLK Girl Magic Pod, POD. You can also find us on Tumblr. If you would like to get a shout out, or if you want, there's something that you want us to cover, feel free to email us at blackgirlmagicpod@gmail.com. You can find us on iTunes and SoundCloud, so please subscribe and leave reviews and comments. We want to get to know you, and we want you to share us with the world. So feel free to leave reviews and subscribe. Music is still by Foreign Exchange, soon to be Carlos Fuentes. Super excited about that.
Yay.
Yay, Carlos.
Yay, Carlos. Soon we'll be on Facebook, so you can find us there. And we'll have all this in our show notes. Thanks for hanging out with us and listening to us. Until next time, have a magical week and keep bringing the magic.